So I just absolutely covered myself in coffee.
Yeah, luckily you're wearing a coffee coloured.
Well, it's my trousers, so I reckon no one can see.
Yes. And you were shocked by a seagull as well on Talbot Street.
That was actually all very dramatic.
Yeah.
That, and it's taught me a lesson not to screech as loud.
Yeah.
And it didn't come that near me, did it?
It didn't come in any way near you at all. In fact, there's a lot more to worry about in Talbot Street generally than seagulls. So we were walking back from lunch and the seagull flapped, generally in your direction.
Yeah.
And you let out a little, what would I say, little girly Southsider squeal, I would say.
And the place nearly stopped.
Yeah. And you attracted some attention from onlookers, various smart comments
thrown behind me. What was he saying? Because I
know he was nice. He was saying, I was
still nervous after the bird incident.
You have to look out, and then somebody else, she's scared of pigeons.
Yeah. And then everyone finds that hilarious that I'm scared of pigeons. And
which
not scared of criminals and things like that, serial killers. I was actually walking the other day with my dog, my little tiny dog, and this woman was walking towards us, and I saw this big black, like raven type of a character, swooping to. I was rendered speechless. I couldn't even warn her, and it landed on her head, it clawed her like that. And then she sort of went like this and it sort of flew off a little bit and sat then aggressively looking at my dog. What would possess a bird to land on your head? I actually said to the woman, I would...
What do you mean a raven type character?
Counselling over that.
Was it a crow?
I don't know the difference between those things, do you?
I don't know.
A big, black, kind of a thing. That size, I'd say.
Yeah. So this is your kryptonite, is it? Birds... Do you ever watch the film The Birds?
Yeah, I know. Sure, I Alive, Dead or Frozen. I'm not particularly comfortable with them anywhere near me, but yeah, no, definitely. Anybody out there listening to this, don't do that on Talbot Street because, I think people thought something more serious had happened. In fairness,
yeah, and of course, normal people could do it, but big celebrities like yourself can't do it. I think would be the
anyway
super uber.
Let's turn our attention to Liam Byrne.
Yeah. Speaking of big celebrities in
the criminal underworld, Liam Byrne, we have seen the terms of this serious crime prevention order served on him in the UK. And it's, to say the least, I'd find it irritating.
Yes. There's not a man alive who wants to have to hand over his browsing history and text messages, which is ultimately what he's left with, isn't it?
Yeah.
He is allowed to have one personal mobile phone and a SIM card, but he has to provide the PIN, the password to police if they so desire it. So
the make, model, the number on the SIM card, wouldn't even know how to go about finding those things.
Yeah.
He ain't allowed to use an encrypted device. Now, I would sort of, if Liam Byrne does listen ever, I would advise him to just park the encrypted stuff for the moment. It hasn't done him much favours.
No.
Of course, it was encrypted messages on the EncroChat network that landed them all in trouble in the latest debacle over the plot to hand up guns in order to get Thomas Bomber Kavanagh a lighter sentence. But he's not allowed to use encrypted devices, messaging apps.
Yeah.
And yes, the must ensuring all browsing history is visible is at any time.
Yeah.
Like, what would you have that?
No, but I wouldn't have. I mean, mine would be like science fiction and little science facts and stuff like that. Yeah, stuff. But it wouldn't be
little science facts.
It wouldn't be as
signs
exciting.
Of narcissism and
little things like that. Mine would not be too X-rated, all right. But Liam Byrne may not have as many intellectual pursuits as I do. He's also allowed to have one laptop, one tablet, and can possess a maximum of 2 business phones at any one time, and one landline with similar restrictions. But he has to have them all the devices available for inspection at any time.
So, right, let's be serious about this. Surely he's going to have a couple of other devices that he's not going to hand up. I mean, the kids going to Irish college have burners that they don't hand over.
No, so I mean, exactly. So it depends what level of resources the police want to go in and check this. So what we're seeing actually in some of these investigations, and what we saw in the EncroChat investigations, one of the ways in which they determined people had an EncroChat phone was that it would obviously bounce off the mobile signal anyway, the EncroChat phone, even though it wouldn't appear on a bill as such. But if they had a second phone, a regular phone, they were able to show that this person was moving to this address, and they had effectively had two phones in their pocket.
Right.
So if Liam Byrne has one registered phone, and they can show another phone when he drives to the gym, a second phone also moves simultaneously, they could probably determine that he had a second phone. So the risk, I suppose, is that because of this disincentive, really, that the UK police have in terms of the serious crime orders, he's at risk of going back into prison, you see. And is he going to take that risk? And it is a serious, genuine risk.
We spoke before about Curtis Warren, and he broke the terms of this serious crime prevention order. His were a lot stricter and a lot more robust. But he actually didn't get jailed.
No, he didn't. But he did actually get brought into prison and kept on remand for a period of time. Now, what he was doing was he wasn't, ultimately when he was brought in, there wasn't a suspicion of drug dealing, really. What it was he was heading off to see a woman.
He's an awful man for the women.
Well, this is the same woman, a former prison officer, that he had relations with while in prison. And they had hooked up in the aftermath, and she was living in Newcastle, and he travelled.
I defamed him by saying he's an awful man.
No, because I mean, if you remember back on when he was in, Curtis Warren was probably the biggest cocaine dealer of his generation in the UK. At some point in his criminal career, he went to Amsterdam, and the Dutch police recorded him, and there was just this constant talk about the ladies, let's put it that way. So you haven't defamed him. He definitely has a reputation of that type. But when he was in prison then, a female prison officer fell in love with him. And it is... Well, it was allegedly they certainly kept together, and they continued to have these relations in the aftermath of all of this time. So he was up visiting her at that point. So, so that's... But I suppose they brought him in, and he had breached those restrictions, because there's a lot of travel restrictions as well, or can be placed on people. And his was solely that he was outside of the particular area he was told to stay in. So Liam Byrne has slightly, certainly less restrictive, but it is a genuine. It has proven to be a genuine disincentive. I remember listening to Darren G, our old that we've spoken about before, Liverpool criminal, and he spoke about how just the incredible impact that had in his life, even looking for accommodation and having to stay away from certain areas, not go back to family members.
They do say that it's kind of can be worse than prison sometimes. These licenses and these way they have to live for a period of time. Byrne will have this for the next 5 years, and it's the NCA who will sort of be basically babysitting him. But that's all on the basis that he stays in the UK. Like, there has been rumours that he's back in Ireland.
Yeah, I mean, he probably can apply, given the fact he is an Irish citizen.
He has to give an address, like a bit like the sex offenders register. If he moves, he has to give an address to the NCA to say where he's going to, and he has to always give them the address that he's at. But that's not to say that he hasn't done so, and he is back in Ireland. His mother is now on her own, Sadie Byrne, because his father, James Jaws Byrne, died while he was in prison. I don't think he got to the funeral.
No, he didn't. A letter was read out by his son Lee on the altar from Liam. So he looked for compassionate reasons. He would be allowed to travel to Ireland, I would imagine, but he would have to apply. Then, of course, he will.
Nobody here is going to keep an eye on his phones. And
no. I mean,
don't have these things
again. Like unless he's the focus of a particular police investigation, they're unlikely to be just casually monitoring him. But the risk that they play, people are in that position can take is because they're not going to be looking at them. But if somebody does decide to investigate it, there would be a risk. Obviously, Liam Byrne is unusual in that he's got this serious crime prevention order, but he is presumably going to be a guest of honor at any, at his upcoming, as he becomes a grandfather, because obviously that connection with Stephen Gerrard's daughter, who's gone out with his son. Stephen Gerrard, of course, back in the UK now.
Is he back?
Well, he lost his job basically in Saudi Arabia, so he will probably be returning.
Yeah.
So yeah, Liam Byrne is definitely an unusual case when you add it all together, you know.
Okay, well, look, we'll leave that be for the moment.
Yeah, watch out for the birds. Robbie Lawler was out of control.
This is Double Cross, the murder of Robbie Lawler.
It was going to be an all-out war with him in the middle of it.
A Crime World special investigation podcast based on my new book, Web of Betrayal, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Nicola Tallant and you're watching Crime World, a podcast about criminals, drugs and the underworld in Ireland and across the globe. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you can be the first to watch all our latest episodes. You can also listen wherever you get your podcasts.